Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln penny coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into a piece of modern American history that might just be hiding in your pocket change, a humble penny that could be worth a surprising amount of money. We're talking about the 2009 Lincoln Formative Years penny, part of the special 1-cent series released to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. But this isn't just any penny. There are rare versions of this coin that collectors are paying top dollar for. So stay with me, because you're going to want to hear all the details. In 2009, the United States Mint released 4 different reverse designs on the Lincoln penny, each depicting a different chapter in Lincoln's life. The second design, known as the Formative Years in Indiana, shows young Abraham Lincoln sitting on a log, reading a book with a workman's tools beside him, symbolizing both his hunger for knowledge and his hard-working spirit. This specific coin commemorates Lincoln's early years from 1816 to 1830, when he lived in Indiana. It's a beautiful tribute, but here's where things start to get interesting. While hundreds of millions of these coins were minted, not all of them are created equal. Let's talk rarity, because this is where the value comes in. While most of the 2009 Lincoln pennies are common, certain varieties and mint errors of the Formative Years design are anything but. These rare examples are what collectors dream of finding. What makes a 2009 Lincoln penny truly valuable? It comes down to a few key things: condition, mint mark, and most importantly, errors. Some of the most desirable 2009 Formative Years pennies feature doubling errors. These are called double die errors, and they typically show up on Lincoln's hands, the book, or the logs near his feet. If you take a close look with a magnifying glass, you might see what appears to be a shadow or a second image. That's the doubling. And that's what turns an ordinary penny into a small treasure. There are multiple known double die varieties for this coin, some subtle, and some very bold. One of the most well-known is where Lincoln's fingers appear heavily doubled, especially on the index and thumb. If you've got one of those in great condition, you're holding something special. Another factor that adds to the excitement is the uncirculated condition. Coins that were never used, especially those that have been preserved in mint sets or rolls, are worth far more than coins that have been in circulation. The sharpness of the detail, the luster, and the absence of scratches make a huge difference, and don't overlook the Philadelphia and Denver mint marks. While both mints produced millions of coins, certain errors are more commonly found from specific locations, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, which doesn't carry a mint mark. Now, here's something that excites collectors even more: finding both the Philadelphia and Denver error versions of the same design. That's what we call a matched pair, and it can be a valuable combo in your collection. So why do collectors go crazy for a coin like this? Because it's a modern coin with historical weight. It's a tribute to one of the most admired presidents in American history. It tells a story, not just of Lincoln's life, but of the American spirit, and that's what makes it more than just a penny. Alright, you've waited long enough. Let's talk real money. If you have a 2009 Formative Years penny with a bold double die error, especially one where the hands or book are clearly doubled, and the coin is in uncirculated or near perfect condition, it could sell for anywhere from $100 to $500, sometimes even more at auction depending on demand and grading. And if you're holding on to one that's been certified and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, the value could climb even higher, with some specimens selling for over $1,000 to the right buyer. So, the next time you go through your change or crack open that old piggy bank, keep your eyes peeled. You might just find a penny worth more than 1,000 times its face value. Top 2, we're diving into one of the most talked about coins in modern U.S. history, the 1982 Lincoln cent. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a penny. But this little copper coin holds a fascinating secret, and some versions of it are worth far more than just 1 cent. 1982 was a historic year for the Lincoln penny. That year, the U.S. Mint made a major change, switching the metal composition from 95% copper to a much cheaper zinc core with a thin copper coating. Why? Because copper was becoming too expensive, and the cost to make a penny was starting to rise above its actual value. but here's where things get really interesting. The switch didn't happen overnight. In fact, both copper and zinc pennies were minted in 1982, and on top of that, there were also two different date styles, a large date and a small date. That's already 4 combinations from the Philadelphia Mint. Then add the Denver Mint versions, and you've got a total of 7 different varieties, but here's the twist, there's an 8th variety, one that was never meant to exist, and it could be hiding in someone's pocket change right now. Let's break it down. One of the rarest and most exciting coins from 1982 is the 1982 D small date made of copper. According to official records, the Denver Mint only produced small date pennies in zinc, not copper. So, when a genuine small date copper penny with a D mint mark was discovered, it shocked the coin collecting world. Experts verified it wasn't a fake, it was a real US Mint mistake. That single discovery turned what seemed like an ordinary coin into a modern treasure, and that's not the only reason collectors love the 1982 penny. This year also produced several mint errors, like doubled dies, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a mistake during the minting process. Some coins show doubling in the date, the word Liberty, or Lincoln's features. Other errors include off-center strikes, die cracks, and misaligned dies, each one adding to the coin's rarity and value. For collectors, these flaws are gold mines, and don't forget about coin condition. A worn, scratched penny might not be worth much, but an uncirculated example with sharp detail and bright luster can dramatically increase in value. Coins that are certified and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC often fetch the highest prices. So how do you know if your 1982 penny is copper or zinc? Easy. Use a small digital scale. Copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while zinc pennies are much lighter, around 2.5 grams. This tiny difference could mean a huge jump in value. Now, let's get to the part you've been waiting for, the real-world value. A regular 1982 penny may only be worth face value. But a rare variety like the 1982 D small date copper in top condition has sold at auction for $18,000. Even other error pennies from that year, especially those in high grade or with clear doubling, can fetch between $100 and $500, and some exceptional pieces have reached over $10,000. So the next time you find a 1982 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, you might be holding a tiny treasure worth a lot more than you ever imagined. Top 3, we're going back in time to take a closer look at one of the most overlooked coins in American pocket change, the 1965 Lincoln cent. Now you might be thinking, what's so special about a penny from the 60s? Well, this coin might just surprise you, especially if you know what to look for. At first glance, the 1965 Lincoln penny looks just like millions of other cents minted in the mid-20th century. Same classic design with President Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But here's the twist, not all 1965 pennies are equal. And a few of them, yes, even in your change jar, could be worth much more than 1 cent. To understand why, we have to look at the context. The United States Mint was going through major changes in 1965. Just a year before, in 1964, the country was dealing with a nationwide coin shortage, so bad that people were hoarding silver coins. To fix the problem, the Mint removed silver from dimes and quarters, and they made another big move. They stopped putting mint marks on coins from 1965 to 1967. That means every 1965 penny you see, whether it was made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, has no mint mark. This was intentional, to discourage coin hoarding. But it also makes identifying where each coin was produced much more mysterious, and for collectors, a little bit more exciting. Now let's talk about what makes the 1965 Lincoln penny valuable. First, as always, condition matters. A 1965 penny that's clean, shiny, and still has its original luster is far more desirable than one that's worn and scratched. High-grade examples in mint state condition, especially those graded MS-65 or higher, are already worth more than face value to collectors, but it's the errors that really get people talking. Some 1965 pennies were struck off-center, giving them a crooked or incomplete look. Others show signs of double striking, where the coin was hit more than once by the dies. These types of mint errors are eye-catching and rare, and they make coins much more valuable. Even more exciting are the coins with double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment during minting. Look closely at the date, the word "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If you see any doubling, that could be a major indicator of rarity. And then there are the coins that were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning a penny was accidentally made on a dime blank or even a foreign coin planchet. These rare minting mistakes are highly prized by error collectors. Now here's something that really excites advanced collectors. Some believe that a few 1965 proof-like pennies were struck at the San Francisco Mint as test pieces, even though no official proof sets were made that year. These coins have unusually sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. If you ever find one that looks too perfect, it might just be one of these mysterious trial strikes. So, if you've got a 1965 penny lying around, don't just pass it off as worthless. Flip it under a magnifying glass, check for doubling, off-center strikes, or anything unusual in its shine or shape. You could be looking at something rare and valuable. Alright, you've waited long enough. So how much is a 1965 Lincoln penny really worth? A typical circulated 1965 penny might only be worth its face value. But if you find one in high uncirculated condition, especially with a known error, like a double die or off-center strike, you could be looking at $50 to $500 or more, and those rare examples with dramatic mint errors or unusual proof-like qualities. They've been known to sell at auction for as much as $12,000, yes, $12,000. For a single 1-cent coin. So next time you're sorting through loose change or checking an old coin jar, don't ignore the humble 1965 penny. It might just be the tiny treasure hiding in plain sight. Top 4. We're diving into one of the most talked about pennies in modern U.S. coin history, the 1995 Lincoln cent. Now at first glance, it may look like any other common penny. You've probably seen dozens of them in your change jar, and you might have even tossed one aside without thinking twice. But here's the truth, the 1995 Lincoln penny is no ordinary coin. In fact, if you know what to look for, it could be a hidden gem worth far more than just 1 cent. Let's go back to 1995. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies for circulation. The design was classic, Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But during that year, something unexpected happened at the Philadelphia Mint. A striking error occurred, one that would go on to become one of the most famous and widely collected modern coin errors of all time. We're talking about the 1995 double die Lincoln cent, a coin that changed the game for everyday collectors. What's a double die, you ask? It's a type of mint error that happens during the die-making process. Essentially, the design on the die, the tool that strikes the coin, is imprinted twice, slightly offset. When coins are struck with a double die, certain parts of the design appear to have a noticeable doubling effect, and that's exactly what happened with some 1995 pennies. Now, here's where it gets exciting. On the 1995 double die penny, the doubling is most clearly seen on the word "Liberty" and the motto, "In God We Trust." It's not subtle, it's sharp and easy to see with the naked eye. If you've ever held a 1995 penny and thought something looked a little strange about the letters, you might already have one of these rare finds, but not all 1995 pennies are double dies. The U.S. Mint caught the issue quickly, so only a limited number of these error coins were released into circulation. Still, because they're from a relatively recent year, many of them survived, and they're now one of the most collectible coins of the late 20th century. Beyond the famous doubling, collectors also love the 1995 penny because of its role in bringing coin collecting to the mainstream. It was one of the first error coins that everyday people could find in pocket change, and it sparked a new generation of hobbyists. And let's not forget, condition is everything. A 1995 double die penny that's been sitting in someone's drawer for years might be worth a nice premium. But one that's been kept in uncirculated condition, especially one that's been certified and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, can bring in serious money. Even beyond the double die, 1995 cents can have other mint errors, like off-center strikes, die cracks, or even broad strikes, all of which can increase the coin's value depending on severity and condition. So how do you know if you have a winner? start by checking your 1995 pennies carefully. Look at the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see doubling that's sharp and clear, not just a shadow or reflection, you might be holding something special. Use a magnifying glass or coin loupe to get a better look, and if your coin looks clean and sharp with no scratches or discoloration, it might be worth getting it professionally graded. That little step can make a huge difference when it comes to value. Alright, you've stayed with me this far, so let's get to the part everyone's been waiting for. How much is a 1995 Lincoln penny really worth? If it's the standard issue and circulated, it's likely worth just 1 cent. But if you've got the 1995 double die variety, and especially if it's in excellent condition, it could be worth anywhere from $25 to $200, and if you've got a gem quality, professionally graded version in mint state condition, some have sold at auction for more than $1,000. That's right, a single penny in your pocket could be worth over $1,000. If it has the right kind of error and the right condition. So, check those 1995 pennies carefully. Because the next one you find might be more than just change, it might be a small fortune hiding in plain sight. Top 5, and last rare coin, we're diving into a coin that might just blow your mind, the 1992 Lincoln cent. It's a coin that millions of people handled without even realizing what they had, because hidden among those ordinary 1992 pennies is a super rare variety that has become one of the most valuable modern pennies out there. Let's start with the basics. The 1992 Lincoln penny features the classic obverse design we all know, Abraham Lincoln's portrait, along with the words, "In God We Trust," Liberty, and the date. On the reverse, you've got the Lincoln Memorial, a design used from 1959 to 2008. Sound standard, right? But here's where things get really interesting. During the production of 1992 pennies, something unusual happened. A very small number of coins were struck using a reverse design meant for the next year, 1993. This wasn't supposed to happen, and it resulted in one of the rarest modern U.S. coin varieties, the 1992 close AM penny. Now let me explain. If you look closely at the reverse of most 1992 pennies, you'll notice a space between the letters A and M and the word America. That's known as the wide AM design, and it was standard for 1992. But on a few rare coins, the A and M are very close together, almost touching. This is the close AM design, and it wasn't meant to appear until 1993. So when a few of these slipped into 1992 production, it created a modern rarity that collectors have been chasing ever since. Even more fascinating? There are two versions, the 1992 close AM from the Philadelphia Mint and the 1992 D close AM from the Denver Mint. Both are rare, but the Denver version is considered ultra rare, with only a tiny number confirmed to exist. So how do you find one? It's all in the details. Grab a magnifying glass and check the reverse of any 1992 pennies you have. Look at the word America. If the A and M are touching or nearly touching, you might have struck gold, or in this case, copper-plated zinc, and that's not the only thing to check. Look for signs of other mint errors, like off-center strikes, die cracks, or doubling in the letters. These kinds of errors make any coin more desirable to collectors. Now let's talk condition. If your 1992 close AM penny is uncirculated, meaning it looks nearly flawless, the value increases dramatically. Coins that have been professionally graded by companies like PCGS or NGC, especially in high grades like MS65 and above, are the ones that reach top dollar. Collectors love this coin not just because it's rare, but because it's a genuine modern mystery. It's a mistake that shouldn't have happened. It escaped the mint's quality checks, and it made its way into everyday circulation. That kind of story makes this penny one of the most exciting finds in U.S. coin collecting. So, how much is a 1992 close AM penny really worth? If you find a regular 1992 penny, even in good condition, it might only be worth a cent. But if you're lucky enough to find a 1992 close AM in high grade, you could be holding something worth between $2,000 and $25,000, and if you find the 1992 D close AM in mint state condition, that coin has sold at auction for over $30,000. That's right, a tiny 1 cent coin, often overlooked, could be worth more than a brand new car. The next time you go through your spare change, look a little closer. That ordinary penny in your hand might just be a rare piece of American coin history. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden coin treasures, and ring the bell so you never miss a new upload. Until next time, happy collecting, and may your next penny be a jackpot.